Mariam, are we live? Assalamualaikum everyone and welcome to the first episode of my Effie Pick. I am Afreen Rizavi and I'm your host for today. Last year, as you all recall, we did these live lockdown sessions with all the nominees. And this year we thought that we'll do something different and let's engage all those nominees और उनसे बोलते हैं कि वोट करें and let's see कि उस voting के बाद who's the winner of that FE pick. And यही किया हमने, we did all this process and today we have with us, और ये पूरा poll ran down हुआ FE pick का on our all social media pages, and the category which we are going to discuss today is media innovation, and the winner of my FE pick poll is Team Easy Pesa, and to represent the team we have with us Hani Heather, who's the head of growth marketing and performance analytics. Hi, Hani. I think you are on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. And now we'll just get Nashit Munshi on board as well, who's the business head e-commerce Starcom. Hi, Nashit. Welcome to the show, both of you. इस साल हमने थोड़ा सा different किया. हमने कहा कि last year we did only the marketing team, and this year we thought, just to bring all the stakeholders on board, यानी कि दोनों पार्टी सामने आमने हो जाए, agency भी और client भी, और let's discuss how they were able to produce a wonderful case for us. क्या हाल चाल है आप लोगों के? How are things in Islamabad and in Karachi? आप बताएं कि are you working from home? Because last year, as we recall, कि जब हम we did these sessions, either the brands they were recovering from the entire वो कि एकदम से lockdown हो गया है, क्या करें, advertise करें नहीं करें, market करें नहीं करें, और या फिर उन्होंने एक path choose कर लिया था, let's calm down, कुछ करते ही नहीं है, देखते हैं कैसे चीज़ है. So अभी it's almost a year now. How do you evaluate the situation at this point in time, coming out from your brand?
I think for us, especially at Easy Pesa, it was always perceived to be an opportunity for us. It was obviously it took a lot of strength and perseverance, I would say, to adapt to the new normal, which is I think something that all workforce across Pakistan sort of faced. But once that initial phase was over, I think everyone recognized that this was also a big opportunity, especially for a brand like ours, which operates within the mobile wallet space. Because one of the nascent features of mobile wallet payments is to have remote payments. And with COVID coming in, people were not very keen or willing to go to the markets, to the retail markets, and that's where our product made a lot more sense, and that presented a great opportunity for us, and which is something that we as a brand sort of positioned on as well, and it has given us some really great results. We did a few very relevant campaigns, especially at the time of Eid. When we rebranded ourselves as Eidi Pesa, people were used to sending Eid, spending Eid with their family, and sharing their Eid with their loved ones through currency notes. But we since they couldn't do that this time around, we came up with another campaign which was called Eidi Pesa. So it was a great opportunity for us to learn from the market, adapt to that situation, be a little more agile. And that really tested not just the product side of the team, but also the communication side of the team. So yeah, we're working from home. We're very lucky to be part of an organization that promotes remote working, and this was something that was promoted even before COVID came into the picture. So it's very simple. We have a very simple tagline within the team, saying that it's a professional business. You're not there to just warm the seats. You're there to deliver results. So if you can deliver your results working from home or anywhere else where you're more comfortable, then the organization actually really promotes that, and we're lucky to be part of that organization.
नशद, अब ये बताएं कि ये तो क्लाइंट की साइड ऑफ द स्टोरी है, मतलब आप कुछ चीजों से इनसे इतराज करते हैं या आप कहते हैं नहीं नहीं यार ये ठीक कह रहे हैं?
नहीं नहीं, आपका एक्चुअली ये बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग और बड़ी अप्रिशिएट करने की बात है कि सो वी बीन वर्किंग विद इजी पैसा टीम डायरेक्टली फॉर ऑलमोस्ट अ ईयर एंड अ हाफ नाउ, राइट? एंड इस दौरान जो है देयर वाज नेवर अ मोमेंट वेयर इट वाजंट एक्साइटिंग. सो कमिंग फ्रॉम एन ई-कॉमर्स बैकग्राउंड, कमिंग फ्रॉम द डिजिटल मार्केटिंग field, as long as the internet is up and running, there's always some activity going on. So there's no officially off hours, right? So you have to be vigilant, you have to be active, you have to be alert, and that's the level of energy that we have, and we share that enthusiasm, whether it's the client side or the agency side. So yeah, that's something that I've always appreciated. So yeah.
आई थिंक you're right हानी कि वो इस पूरे पीरियड में हम सब ने वो एक्सेल कर लिया. हम लोग वो जो 5 साल या 7 साल बाद हमारे पास आती है कि इंटरनेट एक्सेस, स्विचिंग टू न्यू थिंग्स, वो हमने एकदम से वो कर लिया. मुझे एक बात बताएं, बिफोर वी स्टार्ट ऑन, आई थिंक लेट्स जस्ट हैव अ लुक एट द स्टोरी. हम देखते हैं इजी पैसा ने हमें क्या भेजा था, जिसपे हम लोगों ने finalist में उनको select किया हमारी जूरी ने. Let's have a look at the story.
In 2019, EasyPaisa was all set to relaunch with a newer audience, new ID, and with the all-new EasyPaisa app. Taking the strong legacy of EasyPaisa forward with everything new seemed nothing short of a challenge. Instead of choosing traditional marketing strategy and spending outrageously on TV media, we picked up the phone and thought to reach a high proportion of the digital audience in a short duration of time with a high frequency, which would drive results in terms of ad recall and purchase intent. So we worked closely with Google and decided to take a path that was never explored before by any brand. We created a high-impact marketing strategy tool, a perfect combination of Google's network of widespread ad inventory on YouTube, Google Display and Search, called Google Blast.
And Google Blast was one of the solutions to take this new creative to its intended target audience. It's a high reach and a high frequency solution designed to effectively reach the maximum amount of audience in the shortest amount of time to drive top of mind awareness. It effectively leverages Google's properties of search, display and YouTube to have high reach and high frequency. Since Google Blast was never done in Pakistan before, we were the first brand to virtually take over the internet for the duration of Blast, so much so that the campaign was unmissable.
And since we had the silver bullet with us, our launch ad with the nostalgic song Bebiya by Sajjad Ali, our all-new EasyPaisa app launch was a blast with Google Blast. The new EasyPaisa literally owned the internet with massive views and with a unique reach. The creative has garnered unprecedented love on YouTube and was most recently featured on the Southeast Asia YouTube ads leaderboard for 2019. In fact, as a result of popular demand, we recorded a full-length version of the song. Everyone just fell in love with it right away. Launching the new face of EasyPaisa with never tried before and high impactful tool, Google Blast, showed immediate impact on the ad recall. The unique creative and the media strategy was right on the money, giving EasyPaisa the right impact with the right customer connect.
It's a very interesting story, and we are going to have a lot of questions related to it. Just to remind you all, कि देखें आप, you're selected on the poll, and Effie Awards has nothing to do with it. हमारे awards के result अभी भी site पे पाक है, and you're still going to wait for the awards gala night for the actual results. Apart from that, anyone who wants to leave a question, please हमारे पास ये comment box में, Facebook पे, my social media page पे they can leave a comment. So I'll start from the very beginning. ठीक है, पहला सवाल जो हम सबसे पूछते हैं और हम सबसे ये कहते हैं कि यार what is the हमारे फॉर्म में भी जो सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन है कि वेयर डिड दिस आइडिया ओरिजिनेटेड फ्रॉम, और हमारे पास जवाब आप सोच नहीं सकते क्या आता है, हमारे पास जवाब आता है इन द बोर्ड रूम। ठीक है, तो पहले मुझे ये बताएं कि वो बोर्ड रूम किसका होता है, ब्रांड का बोर्ड रूम होता है या एजेंसी का बोर्ड रूम होता है जहाँ पे ये आइडिया ओरिजिनेट होता
है? इसके अंदर तो आई थिंक इट वाज बोर्ड रूम। तो उस वक्त हमारे पास काफ़ी सारे थे, बिकॉज we're lucky enough to have some very good partners on board. So we consider, our partners to be people who actually really drive our strategy into the execution phase, right? So whenever we're making a brand strategy or a growth strategy, we always take our partners on board, and one of our biggest partners obviously happens to be Google. It's one of the biggest platforms in terms of digital communications out there. And they were basically very integral members of our strategy. And once that strategy was, presented and locked, they were the ones who actually allowed us to, look at some of their executions globally, and look at some of their properties. And I mean, it pains me to say this, but a lot of people actually look at these properties, and a lot of teams across different organizations look at these properties, and they execute these properties just on the basis of doing something that they have to do, right? I mean, it's not really connected with the strategy. But what we wanted to do was to make sure that our business objective was achieved. For Easy Pesa, it was the most important thing was to reinvent ourselves, because within our target audience, we were known as a brand which was, doing money transfer. So we were known as a over-the-counter money transfer brand. And when we were relaunching the brand, when we were, making that strategy, it was very important for us to make sure that whatever our new communication was resonated with our target audience. And since we were moving into a very digital space, our target audience was, millennials. So our, communication had to be hip. It had to be something that the millennial audience could relate to. And the second challenge for us was to get this communication out to the market in the most, in the quickest possible manner. Because for us, the challenge was twofold. As the showreel mentioned, that we had to shed our previous positioning, shed our previous skin, and move into a completely different, sector, move into a completely different communication design strategy. So we had to make sure that communication itself was very powerful, and as you can see, the song itself is very catchy. We had no hopes of, we never had a plan of making a full scale song for this particular campaign. But once that ad was, taken to the market and was viewed by the audience, they were so adamant about us releasing that full song that we had to like go back to the producers and get that full song released. So it really resonated with the audience. So the idea actually came up with business objective that we had to reach a very high audience threshold at a very high frequency as well. So, Google Blast was one of the properties which was presented to us as a solution by our partners at Google. And we were, obviously very fortunate enough to have an agency that had, experience working on these properties globally. And they were able to bring those expertise to Pakistan for us. And the execution is there. We have more than 20 million plus views on this particular ad. It was one of the most viewed ads in 2020. It was part of the leaderboard, which is published by Google on a yearly and a quarterly basis. So, it sort of made sense for us. The objective of the organization, the objective of the team was sort of met with this particular execution.
अच्छा, मुझे पता है, you also mentioned, and I think Shori में भी mention हुआ है कि you shifted towards millennials. So was there any like objective that you thought, अब हमें, we've achieved this कि यार ये वाली हमने target audience हमारी है ही loyal. Now let's move on to the other sector. या ऐसी कोई you had this kind of objective in mind, या millennials was targeted because you thought सबसे आसान
नहीं नहीं
काम
I
ये
don't
इनको
think
reach out करते हैं, they're also using this.
हाँ नहीं, I don't think decisions like these, especially when it comes to a brand as big as Easy Pesa, so a mass market brand, it's not just made on the basis कि नहीं अब हमें millennials को target करना चाहिए because they're the easiest to target. इसके पीछे पूरी एक strategy होती है. And any marketing professional would know कि जब आप एक brand house को बना रहे होते हैं तो आप from the top till the bottom उसे fill करना शुरू करते हैं, जिसके अंदर आपका ऑब्वियसली मिशन होता है, विजन होता है, आपके रीजंस टू बिलीव होते हैं, फिर आपके फंक्शनल डिफरेंशिएशंस होती हैं, आपकी इमोशनल डिफरेंशिएटर्स होते हैं, उनके बेसिस पे ऑब्वियसली आपके रीजंस टू बिलीव होते हैं, और उन रीजंस टू बिलीव और फंक्शनल और इमोशनल डिफरेंशिएटर्स को देखते हुए आप एक पर्टिकुलर टारगेट ऑडियंस को सेलेक्ट करते हैं. तो हमारे लिए भी प्रोसेस वाज द सेम. वी स्टार्टेड ऑफ विद रिसर्च बैकग्राउंड, जिसके अंदर फर्स्ट पार्टी रिसर्च थी. वी हैड सम गुड पार्टनर्स इन द रिसर्च एजेंसीज एज वेल. And obviously we had a huge amount of data with us, because we were working in a field in which when we were operating in Easy Pesa, तो हमारे पास systems इतने enabled थे कि every transaction, every user was tracked in a way, right? कि मतलब वो क्या transaction कर रहा है, कौन से use cases सबसे popular हैं. And then we had like a vision as well from set from right from the top कि we need to make sure कि moving forward जो हमारी product है, the Easy Paisa app is going to become the foremost channel of payments in Pakistan. So अगर आप payments की बात करेंगे तो you need to make sure कि आप Easy पैसा आपके दिमाग में resonate होना चाहिए. तो obviously ये पूरी एक मतलब इट्स अ फ्लो डाउन. जब आप पूरा ब्रांड हाउस फिल करते हैं तो उसके अंदर फिर आपकी टारगेट ऑडियंस इज एक्चुअली द लास्ट स्टेप. जब टारगेट ऑडियंस सेलेक्ट होती है तो उसके बाद फिर आप अपने उस टारगेट ऑडियंस के पैशन पॉइंट सेलेक्ट करते हैं. उस पैशन पॉइंट सेलेक्ट करने के बाद फिर उन पैशन पॉइंट्स पे आप अपनी कम्युनिकेशन डिज़ाइन करते हैं. उसके अंदर ऑब्वियसली व्हेन यू आर लुकिंग एट द टारगेट ऑडियंस, उनके कुछ पेन पॉइंट्स होते हैं, कुछ उनके जो है ना वो डिज़ायर्स होती हैं जो कि आप मीट कर सकते हैं कभी कभार if you're fortunate enough to have a brand which actually provides a service that impacts their daily life. So online payments was something that connected really well with our audience, and that's why we were very keen on launching our app with this particular target audience.
And you use this song बेबिया सज्जाद अली का, जो कि
Yeah.
I remember very, थोड़ी सी आप लोगों से सीनियर हूँ मैं, तो ये हमारे जमाने का गाना है. आई रिमेम्बर. सो हाउ डिड यू लाइक, आप लोगों को कैसे लगा कि ये रेजोनेट करेगा विद द मिलेनियल्स, बिकॉज दिस इज लाइक 40s वाला, मतलब हम लोग की एज का गाना है, जिसे हमें एक्चुअली याद है, हमें सज्जाद अली के वन ऑफ द बेस्ट सॉन्ग्स. सो हाउ डिड यू फेल कि यार ये रेजोनेट करेगा विद दिस टारगेट में, बिकॉज ये एज के बच्चे तो बिल्कुल ही अलग तरह के म्यूजिक सुन रहे होते हैं.
I think again, matlab, it every decision was made according to.
ऐसा तो नहीं था कि it was like more of like, because एक सज्जाद अली आपको पता है is a good singer, हो सकता है let's just take a क्या कहते
I think it's
हैं.
super, like I mentioned above, every decision that we made was based on some sort of research, right? So Babia was, a timeless classic. It's a song which every generation would, relate to, and with, like a lot of other brands looking at, the nostalgia value of these songs, which plays a big part in, connecting your content with the target audience. If you look at, millennials or even Gen Z, a lot of these a lot of our audience is actually aware of the songs which were released in this 80s or 90s, with icons like icons similar to Alamgir, to Nazia Hassan, to Zohaib Hassan, to Sajjad Ali himself. So there is a certain nostalgia value, and a lot of brands have played on that. And that was something that we were very keen to explore as well. And when we did our research, obviously there was a focus group in which we tested a couple of other songs as well. But this song actually came out whoppingly on top, because a lot of people related to this. The beat of this particular song, and because we remixed the beat with a fantastic producer, and obviously Sajjad Ali was integrally involved with getting this remixed version of the song out there. So it just instantly hit with our focus groups, and they were very keen on listening to the entire song, and we had to tell them, okay, we only have like 1 minute worth of music and maybe like 30-second worth of lyrics, but they were very keen on hearing more about it.
सही. अच्छा नशर, आप कुछ ऐड करना चाहेंगे?
तो आपका देखें बुनियादी तौर पे फ्रॉम द वे यू स्टेटेड द क्वेश्चंस राइट, आपका ऐसा नहीं होता कि बिल्कुल सब्जेक्टिवली कुछ हो रहा था. सब्जेक्टिविटी होती है डिसीजन मेकिंग के अंदर, बट विद इजी पैसा यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड इट्स a very research based scientific approach. Everything is analyzed first, it's data backed. As personally, for someone who enjoys working with data, it's just one of the things that I need to emphasize. You have to appreciate the fact that all that goes into the thinking process. It's not just it's pretty, so let's just do it, or it just sounds good, so let's just do it. It has to make sense in terms of data.
हाँ, मैं तो वैसे भी कहती हूँ, आप टेलकोस के पास गोल्ड माइन है डेटा की, मतलब देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट दैट. अच्छा बता, देयर आर मेनली टू कंपनीज ऑपरेटिंग इन दिस सेक्टर, Jazz Cash and Easy Paisa, और अब Ufone भी. How would you say, what is going to be a differentiating factor या कोई niche है जैसे आप कहेंगे कि यार this is the reason I would say Easy Paisa is better as in a service?
I think pehle to it's very important to understand that it's not just Easy Pesa and a couple of other players. There are a lot of commercial banks who are now, waking up to the opportunity that mobile wallets present. Because the gap that we have at this point in the market is that if you look at the total registered CNICs that we have in Pakistan, we have about 45 million CNICs registered in Pakistan. But if you look at the overall accounts, bank accounts that are registered in Pakistan, those are actually less than 3%. So there's a huge opportunity for people who have a CNIC who do these casual transactions based on cash every day, but they're not able to do it through a formal channel. And that's where mobile banking comes in, or mobile wallets come in. You have a very stringent KYC process, but it's still so much more easier than opening up a bank account. You have to provide your CNIC details, you have to provide some other verification, and then while you're sitting at home using your smartphone, you'll be able to open up your account. So that was the first part. But the second part, what would make us different from our competitors? I think it's the fact that we're I have no qualms in saying this, that Easy Pesa is the pioneer of mobile banking and mobile wallets in Pakistan. And with that knowledge comes a lot of responsibility as well, right? Because designing the products in a way that are secure, that are convenient, as well as something that gives an additional value to the customer. It's a tripod. It's a triangle sort of a thing, right? You have to provide all of these things in a very secure, convenient, and value-based way for the customer to be enticed to do a transaction, which you could probably do with cash as well, right? But that's what I think sets apart Easy Pesa from the rest of the operators within this particular industry. Our knowledge base, and where we started off educating the customers in the beginning how they can easily send money across Pakistan, and then using that information to start giving them other value added services, from retail, from our OTC branches, as well as then innovating our products into an app, uh, and then moving from that app base to creating products which are really first in the market, utilizing QR payments, making sure that we're making products which really connect with our customers. So I think that knowledge base is something that really differentiates us from our competitors. And like Nashid also mentioned earlier, the products which are designed, they're not designed just on the basis of providing a certain service. They're designed on the basis of extensive research and looking at best in class UI UX, in terms of delivering that value to the customer. And we're very um, you know sort of privileged to have an organization like Ant Financial at the back end, who are the pioneers of mobile wallets globally. I mean, we've all heard of Alipay. We've all heard of products like you know globally they have a lot of other products as well, but they're the ones who actually led this innovation. And if you look at products like Alipay globally, the functionality, the convenience, the security, as well as the value that they provide their customers. That knowledge coming into EasyPesa. That's something that we're very proud of, and we'll hopefully continue to deliver on that as well.
And I think importantly एक चीज और है कि easy पैसा from a media point of view as well, right? From the approach and from the communication, I would describe them as trailblazers. Where we do some really exciting things. So जहाँ product के हवाले से, innovation के हवाले से तो एक चीज है, it's also the fact, the way that these things are communicated and put out there, which is also kind of why we are sitting here discussing media innovation ourselves. So yeah.
सो आपको मैं बताऊं, मीडिया इनोवेशन इज वन ऑफ द डिफिकल्ट कैटेगरी, ठीक है, क्योंकि सब जितने लोग हमें वो एंट्री भेजते हैं तो उनको लगता है कि यार हमने बहुत इनोवेशन किया है व्हेन दे राइट इन द फॉर्म, वो जो फॉर्म फिल कर रहे होते हैं, जब वो अपनी शो रील बनाते हैं. बट ऑब्वियसली मीडिया इनोवेशन बहुत डिफिकल्ट है, बिकॉज ऐसी कोई चीज जो हमारे पास हुई ना हो, एक तो, and then either that or creating a separate media altogether. Abhi when I was going through your show reel, I remember कि उसके अंदर conversation ये थी कि it was a Google blast, और जितनी देर वो Google blast रहा there was something different, या तो वो screens पे रहा, कैसे रहा वो, थोड़ा सा will you elaborate on that, Hani or Nashid?
I think
How did you bring?
I think the unique feature of a Google Blast is that it allows you to be present simultaneously across all of Google's properties. So Google has multiple properties. You have the display channel, you have search, you have YouTube. YouTube in itself is like a huge, it's a world in itself. And then you have like other smaller properties as well, which are part of the network side of the Google's demand side platform. So what we basically looked at was, okay, if we had to be present on all of these platforms, do we buy this inventory separately? Have separate plans for each platform, or do we try to create a custom property in which we'd be present on all of these platforms, and not just present in a way that they're not connected, the communication isn't connected to each other, being connected from one platform to the other, and using the best practices for each platform. So let's say a customer, what we imagined in our mind on how the Google Blast was going to help us was that, when the customer is, looking at his TV screen, they'll be able to see our, ad on prime time channels. Uh, as you know, there's a multi-screen environment. When you're watching TV, you're not just watching TV, you're also scrolling through your phone. So when you're scrolling through your phone, you're either going through your social media, or you're, listening to some sort of music, or you're going through some sort of a web channel. So with social media being covered separately, you had, the search channel, the YouTube channel, and the display channel, which looked at all the other publishing websites. So how would you be present there? So the resonation of your communication shouldn't just die out with TV, right? It should actually be complemented with your, placement on digital channels. And that's what Google Blast helped us to do, because anytime that they logged into YouTube, the first ad that was served to them on that day would be our ad. If they interacted with the ad, then they'd go into another segment which was targeted for conversion. If they converted as in installed the app, then they went into another segment which was then doing they were targeted to do the first transaction. So you have all of these properties available to you. But in order for all of the properties to work in sync, we had to come up with a custom property by the name of Google Blast, which helped us to not only create top of the mind awareness, and that was sort of shown by our BHT results at the end of the quarter, but also to have an impact on your bottom line, which is your transactional base, getting people to transact more, getting people to download your app more. So I think it made perfect sense for us. Nashid can obviously add a lot more to this because he was there when it was being executed.
So I think the key word that you mentioned here was being in sync. And so it's not just about being present across across different channels and across different platforms. It's also being present seamlessly. It's like the journey that Hani mentioned, right? And the journey that he described. That if you are interacting with the first ad that you've seen, you're shown something else, and you're building up to you're basically following up with what was communicated earlier in a different manner. So it's not redundant in a way, but it's more engaging that way. तो ये जो build on process होता है, ये पूरा इस तरह एक sync बना के लेके चलना, I think that was something that you have to appreciate Google Blast as a tool for this. And as Ani rightfully mentioned, if you want to do something on such a big scale in Pakistan, so Google was the best solution for this. So yeah.
अच्छा ये बताएं कि did it do wonders for the brand, right?
Yeah, it did. I mean, looking at all of the metrics that we were tracking, if you look at the awareness levels, the top of the mind, awareness, as well as it basically helped improve our metrics across the customer funnel. So from right at the top of the funnel till the bottom of the funnel. And that was primarily because of the fact that we were reaching a huge amount of people in a very short duration of time, and it was present everywhere, and that sort of helped us create those ripples which translated into those final conversions. Because if you reach like 20, 30 million people at the top of the funnel, your conversion rate at the bottom of the funnel, even if it stays the same, even if it doesn't improve, which it did in our case, you're eventually going to be getting higher conversions at the end of the day. And our objective was to own the internet for the next 3 days of our launch, right? So wherever you go, you would be exposed to this ad. You would be exposed to so it wasn't just the ad. It was like those frequency builder copies along with the ads which were being run. So if you see the end tail of this particular ad, you have that flip, right, that says mobile load easy hai, utility bill payment easy hai, money transfer easy hai. So we had like all of these use cases separately being targeted to those customers. So if you remember what I said earlier, that if someone saw the full copy of the ad, they were then shown these specific functional copies. Okay, do your first mobile load, create your account today, and then if they did that particular action, then they were shown another, like, very bottom of the funnel conversion ad. So it helped us improve our metrics across the funnel.
अच्छा मुझे बताएं ये मीडिया एजेंसी तो आपकी इन्वॉल्व थी बिकॉज गूगल ब्लास्ट इन आप लोगों ने सोचा एज अ टच पॉइंट्स हमने यूट्यूब भी इनकॉर्पोरेट किया, सब कुछ किया, सोशल मीडिया भी था. सो वाज द क्रिएटिव एजेंसी आल्सो इन्वॉल्व ड्यूरिंग द प्रोसेस, उसको?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
We are blessed to have, I think, two very, very good agencies, both on the media buying side as well as the creative side. So obviously, Starcom, Z2C being there on the media buying side, and Ogilvy being there on the creative development side. And they were involved from day one. When we and this idea actually came up from the agency. If we all of that research that I talked about initially, right? How do we connect with this? Or I remember sitting. You mentioned the boardroom, so I remember sitting in a boardroom at Ogilvy when this particular strategy was presented to us, and I've never seen people be so quiet and attentive. They were hooked from screen one till screen 148, because everyone was so intrigued with this particular execution. Like you've never like seen it being done before, And the the success of the campaign is, I think, primarily based on a very strong communication, a very strong creative. And this funny story. I mean, I was sitting with my team in our offices at, like, I think it was 2 in the morning. The Google team was also present there because they had, you know, they had brought in their team and they were sitting with us at our offices because everything had to be, perfectly planned out for the blast to be executed well, right? You couldn't have like one property delayed by even a microsecond, because if it went live a little later, all of the funnel that wanted the
Great.
customers to go through crashed. So they were there as well. And I remember the creative agency was, continuously, telling us, okay, this creative is now ready, your functional copy आपकी ready है, real time changes हो रहे थे, right? और वो लोग भी हमारे साथ ही बैठे हुए थे. So I remember, like, when I was going home, I was like, it was like 2:30 in the morning. Um, we had like a cup of tea, right? So we asked for कि यार चाय लें. So मेरा जो एक टीम मेंबर है, he was there and he took that first cup of tea, right? So he was like, यार इसके अंदर से कुछ जहर की खुशबू आ रही है मुझे. And he was just making a joke कि मतलब हमने इतनी जान अजाब की हुई थी क्रिएटिव एजेंसी की, और उसके बाद फिर हमने चाय भी मांगी उनसे. तो he was like, यार ये तो मतलब मुझे लग रहा है कि मार डालेंगे हमें. But they were so kind and so supportive in a way that matlab, there is no way that we could have done it without them. I think their insight was incredible. Connecting that particular insight through this communication to the target audience, I think it resonated really well with the target audience phenomenally, because it just became very viral. I think Abhi be like a week ago, right? I mean, it's been almost more than a year since we relaunched with that particular ad. But on Eid, we were looking at like different influencers sharing that song, dancing to that song, using that as, a background to their, celebrations for Eid. And it was just, it just sort of gratified our stance that, we chose the right medium, chose the right communication angle. And that credit all goes to the creative agency.
I'm glad. अच्छा, मुझे एक बात है, कमर्शियल्स देखते हैं आप अपने ब्रांड के अलावा, बाकी सबके कमर्शियल्स देखते हैं आप लोग?
ये जवाब नाशिद देगा.
बहुत क्लोजली मॉनिटर करना पड़ता है एक्चुअली. आपका एक अन्ना का मसला होता है कि अगर हम ब्रांड टीम को, अपनी क्लाइंट टीम को पहले ना बता दें, देखिए ये कमर्शियल का
आज ये लॉन्च हुआ है ना. अच्छा, तो मुझे पता है रमजान में, नाशिद आप बताएं आपकी 3 टॉप कैंपेन्स.
आपका फॉर स्पेसिफिकली फॉर इजी पैसा या
नहीं,
लाइक या पर्सनली मेरी फेवरेट.
हाँ, योर फेवरेट ब्रांड.
Alright, so नहीं, so इस ईद के ऊपर जो है आपका, I must say, because the team worked really hard on it, so easy
रमजान
पैसा
की बताएं, इतना कुछ नहीं आया है, रमजान में होगा ज्यादा.
मैं वही कह रहा हूँ, लेकिन सबसे पहले जो हमने खुद अपने ऐड चलाए हैं डिजिटल के ऊपर इजी पैसा के लिए चाहिए, बिकॉज दैट्स वेरी क्लोज टू आवर हार्ट्स.
है भाई,
ये बायसनेस होगी, आई एम सॉरी, ये कहना पड़ेगा मुझे.
तो आप बताएंगे.
ठीक है. और इसके अलावा जो है आपका एक, आई थिंक एक बर्गर किंग का एड चला था, नॉट इन द पाकिस्तानी मार्केट टू बी ऑनेस्ट, but that was something that was interesting. It was a throwback type of commercial. And finally आपका, but I was surprised, पता है this time around जो हमारे beverages के ads थे उसमें इतना कोई मुझे खास लगा नहीं, but usually उनमें से कोई टॉप निकल के आता है. But I would still say Coke is something that I enjoyed personally, again because of the fact that we all worked hard for it. So yeah.
आप बताएं हानी, your 3 top campaigns.
So for me, I think I really like the campaign that Tang did for Ramzan. That campaign was, I think, very well executed. I think it also had a very good utilization of the product itself. So, unka, I think if you remember, unka ek jug hota hai tank ka. So what they did was, कि if you want to like donation was the main stance. उन्होंने कहा था कि अब वो आप जग खरीदें, जग के अंदर आप अपने पैसे जो आप डोनेट करना चाहते हैं वो डालें, और फिर आप जो है वो पीओ बॉक्स की तरफ हमें भेज दें, and we'll donate to a certain cause. So I think product integration भी उसके अंदर काफी अच्छी थी. I really like that ad. I think if I had to pick 2 more, it would have to be, I think,
It's not
close
easy, is it,
call.
Avi?
Huh?
It's not easy, is it?
It's not easy, actually. It's not easy, but I think I don't think like I can't remember any other ad which sort of made more sense to me. There were a lot of like beverages who were beverage companies had a lot of ads. I think आपकी ये जो मतलब food preparation industry के काफी सारे थे. But this ad actually resonated really well with the donations wali cause. So I'm going to stick with one at this point, if that's okay.
अच्छा, मुझे एक बात बताएं कि okay, so I want one pitch for FE Pakistan. Why do you think people should enter into awards program?
Nasir, would you like to go first? Yeah.
Yeah. So देखिए, competition is always a healthy thing. So we all, whether it's on the brand side or on the execution side of things, right, or on the creative side or on the digital side, everybody in their own capacity works really hard, and they by entering into competitions like these, or and making submissions like these, I think what comes out is it's claim to fame wali baat hai. It gives you bragging rights. It just adds a fun element to all the hard work that you're already doing. So I think that's a very positive thing to have. So yeah, that's why I think people should do it.
I think it's yeah. I would definitely call it bragging rights. You've put in a lot of hard work and execution. Like a lot of teams across the industry, they spend nights on and days on such campaigns. And once they've executed them, they see the results. Then that's something that they want to like showcase to the industry, right? And that also allows them to be a little more conscious about the kind of effort that goes into making these campaigns. Just looking at that reel, when you played that reel at the beginning, I had like flashbacks of the time that we spent in the office, just all of those nights and all of those days, and especially with the agency resources working, the commitment that they had to like their sheer excitement and joy at pulling this off right at the end was something that was incredible to witness. And why not? I mean, why not let them have this stage? I think FEs are a stage which is mostly for the agencies. They need to have this stage in order to tell the world the kind of hard work that they put in, and their hard work, it has to be appreciated by your peers, by your well, obviously the jury is there of your peers.
Plus, I
अच्छा,
think
मुझे
learning
बताओ,
experience भी है. I think I'm sorry, Afshin, I think learning
no,
experience भी है.
just going to add this thing कि हम उसको education भी समझते हैं. तो हमें लगता है
Yeah.
कि बहुत ज़्यादा especially when people the jurors आते हैं हमारे पास, आप लोगों की forms देखते हैं, आप लोगों की stories देखते हैं, तो उनके लिए भी ये learnings होती हैं. ठीक है, so वो भी they take away a lot of things from those campaigns, from those enlightening होती है, because वो लोग खुद भी नहीं देख रहे होते हैं, हर commercial नहीं देख रहे होते हैं. That is one aspect. Yes, a lot of learnings and a lot of education. How do you see the landscape of advertising and marketing changing in the coming years, say like 5 years or 4 years down the road?
I think the landscape, I mean, it's sort of going through an ever evolving um, change, right? Because I remember sitting and discussing this very uh, problem with my manager back in 2015, and maybe like even before that, that are we going to be relevant moving forward as a brand? Because a lot of the audiences that we want to talk to, a lot of the audiences that we want to be remembered by, are now not present on a lot of the traditional platforms, as we now call them. And obviously there's an opportunity cost, right? If you just start your communication design on digital channels, if you completely ignore your traditional channels, there's a huge chunk of the audience that you're missing out on. So I really feel that with the smartphone penetration increasing in Pakistan, lower priced handsets going selling very very quickly, a lot of new entrants entering into the market, the handset developers, the mobile handset, smartphone handset penetration is only going to go up. And if you look at the kind of policies that the government and the regulators have in place for providing access to internet, that access, those speeds are only going to go up. And with the internet access and the smartphone penetration going up, your communication, your audience is going to move away further from those traditional channels and move towards your digital channels, or channels which are within their within the palm of their hand. So we need to obviously evolve accordingly. All brands need to do that. That your communication, I mean, with TikTok, with snack video coming in, I
Yeah.
mean, your communication design has completely evolved. You can't give them a 30-second ad. You could never give them a 30-second ad on digital platforms, because the thumb rolling impact, right? They will never see your ad in 30 seconds. They'll probably give it like 2 3 seconds and then roll it
Move
down.
on. Yeah.
But now the bite-sized content is coming up, and it's taken over completely. A lot of the brands have missed out on this beat. They haven't been able to really resonate with the audience on platforms such as TikTok, snack video, and these are massive platforms with more than like 20 30 million base. So I think that's the next evolution that we need to, like, adapt to. That moving your communication to platforms such as these, where the audience exists, and making content which resonates with them. You can't just sell a functional offer anymore. You can't just tell them कि यार ये 5 रुपए का bundle है, ये 3 रुपए में मुझसे ले लो, 2 रुपए का cashback पा लो. You need to make it contextual, you need to make it relevant, and you need to deliver that contextuality and relevance in less than 5 seconds. So
Yeah.
that's
A
something
lot of
that is going to, that's a huge challenge for advertisers across I think the world as well as Pakistan.
But I think एक opportunity भी है because you're right. Everything is evolving. Consumption patterns are evolving. The way ad formats used to be, that's evolving. Bite-sized content, as you very aptly described, it's there. It's there to stay. But there's also the fact that there's new technology out there. But there's wearable tech now. So I mean, that's an avenue that Pakistanis have yet to explore in the form of advertising. People are wearing smartwatches now, for example. You'll have digitized out of home coming into Pakistan. I foresee this happening already, and I think उसके अंदर भी space एक evolve होगा to target users on the go इस तरीके से. So similarly जो traditional channel की बात कर रहे हैं, TV भी जिस तरह consume हो रहा है आपका, it's evolved into it's evolving दुनिया भर के अंदर, तो it's already evolved into a digital form of a channel. But here also you see that things are evolving. So opportunity itself. और एक ऑब्जर्वेशन जो मेरी पर्सनली रही है वो ये कि जो एवोल्यूशन था that's been going on for the past decade in Pakistan, yes, but the pace of that, the changes that are happening, that's accelerated. So there's a lot more changes happening at a faster pace. So we really at our wits end sometimes trying to keep up with what's going on in the market. But
तो
yeah,
आप
so
थैंक यू पैंडेमिक तो नहीं कहेंगे ना? थैंक यू पैंडेमिक.
I
That was
mean, नहीं.
Hey,
I mean,
no,
it has contributed, yes. एक acceleration आई है वहां से भी. But everything has a pro and con to it, right? So जहाँ पे एक तरफ से अगर कुछ एक setback आया आपको, तो उस तरफ से दूसरी तरफ opportunity opinion arise हुई आपके लिए. So yeah.
अच्छा, एक ऑन अ लाइटर नोट मुझे बताया, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ इश्यूज डू यू फील और यू फेस बीइंग द एजेंसी? लाइक इज इट इजियर टू परस्यूएट द ब्रांड टीम, या आपको लगता है काफी पापड़ बेलने पड़ते हैं?
अब देखें, डिपेंड करता है ऑनेस्टली. समटाइम्स आपको काफी मेहनत करनी पड़ती है टू कम्युनिकेट योर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू अक्रॉस, बट दैट इज नॉट टू से कि दैट आवर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू इज ऑलवेज गोना बी राइट. ठीक है, so it's a back and forth. The good thing about working with Easy Pesa is they're very receptive, very open to ideas. They actually encourage us to bring out the best in us. So वो वो नहीं है कि यार ठीक है, आपका जो दिया वो एक्सेप्ट कर लिया. दे कम बैक विद अ लॉट ऑफ क्वेश्चंस, अ लॉट ऑफ क्यूरीज, अ लॉट ऑफ क्रिटिसिज्म, एंड इट्स ऑलवेज बीन हेल्दी. सो ये जो बैक एंड फोर्थ होता है, एंड द फैक्ट कि जो इनपुट आता है इट्स वेल रिसीव्ड, एंड देन दे गो आउट ऑफ देयर वे टू एक्चुअली इम्प्लीमेंट दैट फॉर अस. समटाइम्स आंख भर आती है यार, कि यार इस डेडिकेशन से काम हो रहा है उस साइड पे भी. सो या, सो ऐसा तो
आप
कोई शिकायत नहीं है इस तरीके
आप कुछ
से कोई.
बोलेंगे, ब्रांड टीम को कोई शिकायत है एजेंसी से? अच्छा, एक एक शिकायत बताएं आप लोग आपस में एक दूसरे के साथ, एक एक अच्छी बात एक दूसरे के बारे में बताएं और एक एक बुरी
मुझे
बात बताएं कि आप ये नहीं करते हो तुम।
मुझे तो एक शिकायत है, वो नाशिद से स्पेसिफिकली है कि मैंने नाशिद को काफ़ी मतलब बार पूछा है कि यार ये जो योर ये राज क्या है तुम्हारे ये कर्ली बालों के पीछे का, एज यू कैन सी, मतलब आई कुड डेफिनेटली यूज सम टिप्स, but he never tells me. So ये मेरे पास एक बहुत बड़ी एक I'm very upset about this. But professionally, I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think we're very blessed to have agencies that are more I think involved with our day-to-day tasks than some of the internal team members are. They're the ones who are actually policing us. Do you know that we mentioned this in the strategy and we still haven't executed any part of this particular point? We have very few, we have very little time left till the end of the first quarter, so we need to make sure that we execute these things. And along with that, I think there's also a very strong sense of collaboration between the two agencies. Because recently when we were looking at our strategy for this particular year, it was such a pleasant surprise for us to be presented a deck which was made in collaboration with the media buying side. So it was such a strong strategy that it sort of sailed through most of the rounds, and there was very little feedback. And that's something that I think we're very proud of internally as well. But one improvement that I would definitely ask for from Nashid is to make sure that he shares some of his secrets with us here. He never does. Matlab, every time we ask him कि यार ये जो results आए हैं, what is the what are the executions behind this? What did you do to get us to this target? He goes like, यार a magician never reveals his tricks. So वो जो है ना, he never lets us know कि वो क्या हो रहा था background में, but ये कि we know कि they're performing really well.
As long as they are performing. हाँ, लेकिन
Yeah.
बता दें यार, मतलब टीम है ना, हम लोग
भाई
यही बोलते हैं
हानि नहीं, देखिए हानि इज बीइंग वेरी जेनरस हियर. आपका इट्स not always कि यार there's one person or a group of individuals doing it. It's always a collaborative effort, and I mean without the support on their side, I don't think we will be able to have the things that we wanted to do. So yeah, I mean,
अच्छा,
yeah,
एक चीज
kudos
मुझे
to them.
बताएं, ऐसी कोई कैंपेन हो जो आप लोगों के दिमाग में हो, आप बोले यार ये तो बहुत ही कोई बुरी कैंपेन थी, अगर मैं इसका ब्रांड मैनेजर होता या मैं इसका मार्केटिंग मैनेजर होता या मैं इसकी एजेंसी होती तो मैं इसके बजाय ये करता. इज देयर अ कैंपेन इन योर माइंड जो आप लोगों को लगता है दे डिड नॉट डू जस्टिस टू द ब्रांड इटसेल्फ?
I can go first because I think the recent campaign in Ramzan for 7 Up, I I think they really missed a beat there because you had they had a very strong positioning, a very catchy sort of a theme that they were following with Manalo Food Ka Love with 7 Up, and a lot of those variations over the past 2 years at least were really hitting with the audience. But then in Ramzan, for some reason, they sort of let go of all of everything that they had established over the last 2 years and came up with a completely different copy.
Emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, and their tagline was also very different. Like it wasn't related to food. It wasn't related to that particular positioning. It was completely different. And I think like for me that was a big shock because why break the wheel? Why break something that was working? I mean, 7 Up is a brand which is very close to my heart specifically because even as a kid I was like very pro 7 Up, not Pepsi or not, you know, any other brand, but like 7 Up was my thing. And when this communication came out, Manalo Food Club with 7 Up, I think I was like really like happy with that. I was like, yes, that's exactly what they should be doing because 7 Up goes well with food. And then they sort of, went ahead with, really placing that in the right, in the right segments, with the right connecting with the right executions for that particular passion point, which was food. Doing those on ground festivals, making sure that they were present on certain YouTube videos as ads. But then somehow all of that sort of ended with this particular Ramzan campaign. So I miss the continuity. I think that's the only feedback that I give.
आई थिंक जस्ट टू बिल्ड ऑन टू इट, क्या सबसे ज्यादा आसान होता है, बिकॉज यूर मार्केटर एजेंसी है, सबसे आसान होता है कि इमोशनल कनेक्ट कर देना, लोगों को रुला देना, लोगों को दिल हिला देना कि यार ये भी होता है, क्या ये आसान होता है मतलब ब्रांड्स के लिए ऐसी कॉपीज क्रिएट करना, या फिर कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा तो सोचते हैं यार ऐसा इमोशनल कनेक्ट क्रिएट कर दो कि रो दें लोग?
I think I'm
Because
going
a
to
lot
go
of
back.
brands are doing that way, right? A lot of brands have shifted to emotional connects. अगर आप देखें बिस्किट ब्रांड्स हो गए, चाय का ब्रांड हो गया, कोक, पेप्सी, सारे सब इमोशनल कनेक्ट, कुछ अच्छे लफ्जों में और कुछ बहुत आप देखें कि रुला देंगे आपको, अगर आप कहीं ना कहीं झंझोड़ देंगे आपको.
I think it's probably one of the most difficult executions to get right, because pulling at the strings, like emotional strings of the audience, it's very difficult because you either do really well or you either do really badly. There's no middle ground, right? Because it's so difficult for you to get that insight, which would be connecting to that emotional thread, and then to execute on that particular insight, how to present that in a manner that is effective within 30 seconds to a minute, get the right script, get the right voiceover, get the right music. It's very very difficult to make that connection on these three particular executions, right? So I would say it's probably one of the most difficult things to do. I think the easier thing to do would be to, make it very straightforward, functional, and, just bombard the audience with that particular ad. But emotional connect is very difficult to drive, especially if you have a very, versatile sort of a target audience, which is, present across SEC segments. They all have very different, emotional connects. So how do you cater to that in one ad, right? It's the most difficult thing to do, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
मतलब आपकी कोई कैंपेन है जिसमें आपको लगता है यार या आप एजेंसी वाले हैं तो आप सेफ खेलेंगे, यार कोई ऐसा ऐड नहीं है, सबने सही सही काम किया है?
I mean,
हमारा कोई ऐसा ad जिसको we could have improved?
हाँ, ये भी हो सकता है.
not recently.
That
I mean, I think we've done pretty well recent times के अंदर.
I think
And
like
honey, hold on. So to be honest, especially the Phata Note wala tha, I mean, and even with the Debiya song, right? If your ads are being used as background music for memes, I think that's a huge success right there. I mean, that's a lot of popularity. I mean, you remember we used to compare के लोग किस तरह content generate करके share कर रहे हैं using material from our ads.
absolutely.
That speaks for itself. There's a good entertainment value right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely. I think matlab, Easy Pesa, like since the relaunch, I mean, I think because obviously like having a huge change come into place with basing a lot of our ads on insight based on data that we received from a lot of focus group sessions, a lot of insights driven from the actual audience, and having a very powerful partner as an agency, as a communication design agency, which was able to translate those insights into actual campaigns. If you look at the Phata Note campaign, if you look at Easy Pesa, if you look at even a smaller campaign which was done earlier, which was very functional, which was related to money transfer. I think all of those campaigns sort of resonated with the audience really well, and we can still see the impact of that. I mean, this Eid, we had, even having a product which was still being tested. A lot of people were looking at money transfer from Easy Pesa as a way to send Eid. So people were actually looking at Easy Pesa to send Eid to their loved ones, and that's a spike in transactions that we saw as well this year.
अच्छा, नई कैंपेन कब आ रही है इसी पैसा की बताना.
कब आ रही है?
बहुत जल्द.
I want to do this too.
बहुत जल्द. Soon.
Soon. So we have a few questions. हसी पूछ रहे हैं कैसे कर लेते हैं आप ये सब, एपिक टीम या EP team, Easy Pesa team. So I think this is more of a kind of
A comment
for you guys. Okay, फिर उन्होंने असद अस्करी, I saw you again on this ad. तो इस ad में क्या असद हैं? जल्दी से बताएं कहाँ है, किस टाइम पे असद आते हैं?
That's actually a joke. So Asad Askari is part of our team, within the brand team, and the main protagonist within the ad, the person who's dancing around and like singing that song, he resembles Asad Askari quite a lot. So everyone, like the first time that they saw the ad, they were like, "Oh my God, did you actually use Asad Askari in the ad?" And we were like, "No, this guy, we actually hired talent, to be in the video, not Asad Askari." But that's something that I think comes up quite often.
ठीक है. So wasn't creative agency involved in this campaign, or did Starcom acted as both media and creative agency? I think you did answer this question.
Yeah.
Okay, Ogilvy was involved, and you all guys
Very
like us.
integrally involved with everything. Yep.
ठीक है. Okay, so there's one question. Not a user of Easy Pesa, so could be a naive question, but does Easy Pesa help me track my payments, history of how much I paid and to whom?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the most used features within the app, because I think for anyone to get, especially for us, if you're making online transactions, to have control over your payments, and that's what Easy Pesa basically provides you, control over your payments. So we have a transactional history uh, module within the app, so it's real time. Anytime you do a transaction, you're able to like look at the last 30 transactions immediately, and up to 2-3 years in history if you want to download a PDF. So that's available within the app. So whatever transaction that you do, the amount, the vendor that you paid to, everything is being tracked, and it actually helps you manage your budgets really well. So that's actually one of the things that Easy Pesa is most used for.
ठीक है. So I don't think so we have any more questions. जो दो चीजें I think हम लोग भी relate करेंगे, और आपने specify की कि research, आपने बार बार एक बात की कि we did a lot of research, and this is one thing जो Effie also believes in doing a lot of research, because research actually आपकी चीज को authenticate करता है, and that's what we keep on telling everyone when we go out for briefing sessions during Effie Awards launch. So हम उस वक्त यही बता रहे थे कि यार आप जितना रिसर्च कराएंगे आपकी इनसाइट उससे अच्छी निकलेगी, you'll be able to produce good commercials, and results भी अच्छे आएंगे. So research is the basis, and आपने वही चीज हमें कि एक अच्छी ब्रांड को, एक सक्सेसफुल ब्रांड को और मजीद आगे ले जाने में रिसर्च प्लेज अ वेरी वाइटल रोल, एंड यू जस्ट काइंड ऑफ जिसे कहते हैं ना, दोबारा से आपने मेरी बात को से एम्फसाइज कर दिया. और दूसरी चीज जो हम लोग भी हमेशा वी एज पास टीम और वी एज एफई टीम, व्हेन वी गो आउट एंड वी pitch to agency and marketers, we tell them that agency and the brand team, they work as partners. So it's very necessary for any campaign to be successful कि वो as partners काम कर रहे हो, because at the end of the day एक healthy relationship ही आपकी उस campaign को यहाँ से यहाँ ले जा सकती है. So वो दोनों चीजें आपने बहुत अच्छे से highlight की. Thank you so much, guys. I think there's one more question जो हमें भेजा है. What was the logic on putting an I'm so
Interbank
sorry,
funds transfer.
IBFT limit of rupees 5,000 per month? It made me uninstall the app. Have you like put a certain amount of yes,
There
an
was a
amount?
limit. There was a limit, but it's not there anymore. There was a limit initially, which was part of an effort by the regulator to ensure that some of the transactions that were some of the ways in which the mobile wallets were being used could be monitored, and the ticket size, which is the total amount of transactional value that you can send, had to be controlled. So that was something that was initially, put in place by the regulator, but it has since been reviewed and removed. So currently, I'm, happy to tell you, Hasnain, I think,
जी.
that you can install the app again, and you can do any amount of IBFT transaction dependent on the category of your account. If you're a biometrically verified user of the account, then there is no limit as such for IBFT, interbank funds transfer.
आई थिंक हसनैन पहले ही फुर्सत में जाके आप प्लीज दोबारा से ऐप को इंस्टॉल कर लें और मजा करें. Thank you so much, guys. Hani and
Thank you.
Nashid, it was great
Thank
having
you.
you here on the show, and I think it was a very insightful one. दो तीन चीजें जो हम हमेशा हर एक को बोलते हैं, आपने बड़े मजे से अपना गूगल ब्लास्ट एक्सप्लेन किया सबको. हाउ डिड यू मैनेज टू गेट होल्ड ऑफ इट, कैसे आपने उसको डेवलप किया, क्रिएटिव को कैसे मीडिया के साथ कनेक्ट किया, एंड यूजिंग द राइट प्लेटफॉर्म्स. दैट इज द की टू एवरीथिंग. आप गलत जगह चले जाएं, आप टच पॉइंट्स गलत यूज कर लें, यू वोंट बी एबल टू गेट द डिजायर्ड रिजल्ट्स. सो एट द एंड is the kind of relationship you have with your agency, and you come up with the desired results, having the best insight. एक चीज मुझे बताएं कि अच्छा आपने कैंपेन हमें नहीं बताया कि कब आ रही है आपकी, नहीं तो हम भी
It's soon. बहुत जल्द, बहुत जल्द.
Chale. Thank you, everyone. And guys, look forward to the next episode, which we're doing in the coming week, inshallah. Stay tuned to all the social media pages. We'll post the next coming category soon on the pages. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nashid, and thank you, Hani, for your time. I hope you had a good one. Maza aaya.
Absolutely.
हमने तो बहुत आया.
Yeah, this was fun.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It was really great. Thank you so much for hosting, Afshin. And it's always a pleasure being in the same conversation with Nashid. So, it was really nice looking back on all of those moments that we shared earlier while executing this campaign.
आप लोगों को ना पता है मुझे ब्लूपर्स भेजने चाहिए थे. I would have run those at the end of the show.
Next week award में करेंगे.
Campaign bloopers होते हैं ना?
Absolutely. We have a lot of content. So, like from the nights that we spent in the office together, and especially like from my team, like Saud and Moez, who were actually the ones who executed this campaign. But obviously I was looking at it from a very different angle, but they were the actual warriors who executed this campaign. They recorded a lot of really great content. So, we could probably share some of those moments.
मैं what I'm going to do is कि वो आप हमें भेजें. We'll run it through something else. हम किसी और तरीके से चलाते हैं. Thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you again. Or inshallah we're going to soon announce the final date of the Effie Awards Gala Night. आप सबके लिए जो ये समझ रहे हैं कि ये विनर है, बिल्कुल नहीं, ये विनर ऑफ द पोल थे, and that's why they were here with us on the show. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Take care,
Thank
Hani.
you.
Take care, Afshin. Take care, everybody.
Yes.
Allah Hafiz.